Good Thursday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Under cloudy skies, we have 62 degrees outside. It cooled off just a little bit overnight. Absolutely beautiful day yesterday with sunshine, temperatures in the 80s, and a lot of field work got done all across the Buckeye State. I had the opportunity to do a cab cam in Putnam County, planting soybeans with Robert Gray and Jeff McCann. Be sure to check that out at OhioAgNet.com. This reminder, the Ohio Soybean Council invites you to learn more about biodiesel and how this cleaner, efficient fuel boosts engine life, adds value to soybeans, and drives real savings for farmers. Visit soyohio.org to learn more. On April 14th, Jared Lute of RL Lute Logging in Lucasville went into his local equipment dealer to order a new feller buncher, that's a log harvester. Lute is an Ohio master logger whose primary contract was with Pixel Specialty Solutions for the mechanized harvest of pulpwood. 2 days later, he canceled that equipment order. The mill closing is a total shock, said Lute, who'd been logging since he was 10 years old. Supplying Pixel is 90% of what we do. We've structured our entire business around the paper mill's needs. Its closing will devastate our business as well as hundreds of other master loggers in southern Ohio. Now, southern Ohio, however, will not be the only area affected by Pixel Specialty Solutions closing. It also has statewide economic implications. The Ohio State University's Ohio Forest Economy 2021 report said paper manufacturing is the largest sector of Ohio's forest products industry, contributing $17.8 billion to the overall economy and employing around 50,000 people, both directly and indirectly. The Pixel paper mill is the only substantial market for low-quality timber left in Ohio, which is a critical need for all logging operations in the state. The need is not only for Ohio's forest economy, but also the forest ecology. The majority of timber sales associated with a woodland management plan consist of lower quality trees. The absence of low quality timber markets leads to high grading, the practice of harvesting only high quality timber, and this depletes forest health, sustainability, and biodiversity, as well as enriched wildlife habitat. A market for low quality timber is essential for sustainable and renewable forest management. Now, the April 18th announcement of the delayed Pixel closing until the end of the year has left Lute and many others in Ohio with uncertainty in 2025. The Ohio Forestry Association supports the management of Ohio forest resources and strengthening of member business opportunities in the forest products industry and related enterprises. Well, let's take a look now at your Friday morning weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Some moisture in here as we finish out the week. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at the forecast update here in Ohio. We're going to put together a decent weekend, but before we get there, probably a little bit of hit and miss of scattered rain shower action. I'm seeing bigger holes trying to open up as this disturbance comes through. So I'm going to back our coverage off to probably 75%, but I do think that we see on again, off again showers over 75% of the state through the day today. Also backing moisture up a little bit, a few hundredths to a half inch is probably what we're looking at rather than higher totals. So, yep, keep the umbrella handy today, but not everybody's going to be seeing it. We clear out through tomorrow, getting good sunshine in here, especially by midday and afternoon. High pressure dominates for Sunday. Just a beautiful day there. Excellent evaporation. Next week, Monday, I think, is dry, although I won't rule out a pop-up shower in one or two spots up north. We're seeing a very active precipitation pattern developing out of the northern plains, upper Midwest, and into the Great Lakes. So maybe an offshoot shower from that, a renegade shower, but I'm pushing most moisture off into late Tuesday and Wednesday. That's when our frontal boundary sags through. Out of that front, I think we can see a quarter to 3/4 of an inch, maybe 1 inch in spots, depending on thunderstorms, with coverage at around 80% of the state. Behind it, we are dry for May 1st, maybe dealing with a little bit of moisture over the southern part of the state, overnight the 1st into the 2nd, and then we are dry for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of May. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Soybeans are a game changer for Ohio's pork industry. Pigs thrive on soybeans' perfect blend of protein and energy, helping hogs nationwide devour the equivalent of 292 million bushels of soybean meal annually. Ohio is number 7 in pork production, contributing to the billions of pounds of pork enjoyed by families across the nation each year. From sizzling bacon to barbecued ribs, soybeans power the farms that feed families. Brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Every time you use biodiesel, you're fueling more than your engine. You're investing in Ohio's farmers, reducing emissions and creating cleaner air for all of us. Did you know biodiesel adds 13% in value to every bushel of soybeans grown? That's good for farms, good for families, and good for the future. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org.
I'm visiting today with Sarah Steltler, and she is a farmer in central Wisconsin, a soybean farmer, also a member of the United Soybean Board and the Soy Nutrition Institute Global Board member. Sarah, we want to talk a little bit because April is Soy Foods Month, and a lot of health benefits come from seed oils, particularly soybean oil. But unfortunately, in sort of this Make America Healthy Again campaign, if you will, there's been some misinformation that's been disseminated, and we want to combat a little bit of that today.
Yes. First and foremost, the United Soybean Board is working with the Soy Nutrition Institute Global, which is SNI Global, the corn and the canola commodity checkoff groups. And we are working very hard to disseminate science-based findings, which will stress the importance of seed oils. And in particular, in our case, is soybean oil. Soybean oil provides significant health benefits. Soybean oil is high in unsaturated fats and linoleic acid, and that has been shown through various research projects throughout the world, basically, that linoleic acid and, in particular, soybean oil is very good in helping to reduce bad LDL cholesterol. It also reduces inflammation, and it helps in reducing chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And this is, again, it's been shown through various studies from groups around the world, basically, the benefits of soybean and seed oil.
And probably important to point out, too, this isn't just new research. This has been going on for decades of different research findings that support these health claims.
Absolutely, and it's ongoing research. And, the soy is so important in all aspects of our health, whether it be skin health or in our cardiovascular system. There's been a lot of great research lately with breast cancer and the importance of soy in our diets for certain types of breast cancer. So, I mean, it's been ongoing and continuous, and it's been over many, many years that this research has been going on and proving the benefits of soy in the diet.
Well, a lot of times we talk about soybeans and soy crush and the value of the oil, and a lot of thoughts often go to renewable fuels, things like that for the oil. I did not realize the large percent of that oil that actually is used in the food market in cooking and baking and things like that.
Absolutely. Soybean oil is 45% of our domestic market in foods, in our domestic market. So it's a critical thing for farmers to think about and to remember that when we are talking about soybean oil, 45% of our oil is going for foods. So we are finding soybean oil. First off, you go to any store where you buy a bottle of vegetable oil, frequently and more almost always, that vegetable oil, you turn it around and look at it, it's soybean oil. Either all or in part soybean oil. So right there, it's very obvious that the soybean oil is a critical part of our grocery shopping. It's also found in salad dressings, margarine, many different kinds of foods. So it's really an important market to continue to have for farmers. The other thing about soybean oil and seed oils is there isn't really a good substitute for every product. Like, for instance, you can't take tallow or palm oil and use it in salad dressings, because if you do that, the solidifying temperature is room temperature. So, you can't easily substitute some of these other types of oils for seed oils, but in particular soybean oil.
That's very interesting, something that I've not thought about, and just interesting, too, how important soy is in everybody's life, even when we don't think about it or don't necessarily see it. It's something that impacts us every day, and again, an important factor in that, it is a part of a heart-healthy diet as we include that in our diets. Well, my guest again today has been Sarah Stelter. She is a United Soybean board member and a farmer up in central Wisconsin. Sarah, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, and have a great day.
In other agricultural headlines, WOTUS, or the Waters of the U.S., making the news once again with the Supreme Court. Now, agriculture, environmental, and other groups do agree that the next Waters of the U.S. rule should be clear, consistent, and predictable. These groups said that in comments submitted to the Trump administration before a comment period ended April 23rd. Now, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers also announced last week that they would hold several stakeholder listening sessions. Those are scheduled, one today and the next one on May 1st. The WOTUS definition has changed several times during the past few presidential administrations and has been a political hot potato fought about in courts for years. The same range of comments submitted, however, show the same decades-long divide exists between agricultural and industry groups that want lesser regulatory burdens and environmental groups that want to advocate for expansive protections of the water. Now, all the comments recognize the Supreme Court's decision in Sackett versus the EPA as a pivotal influence on the direction WOTUS needs to go. Now, the American Farm Bureau Federation said the Biden administration's changes to the WOTUS rule after Sackett fell short of what was required, leaving farmers and ranchers without certainty, just as the Supreme Court was considering the definition of WOTUS in Sackett versus the EPA. The Biden administration published its new definition of WOTUS under the Biden Rule Number 2 that heavily relied on the complex, subjective, and idiosyncratic significant nexus test, Farm Bureau said in its comments. 4 months later, the court unanimously decided that the quote, significant nexus test was unlawful and incompatible with the Clean Water Act and directed the agencies to adopt the, quote, relatively permanent test and redefine adjacency as it pertains to the jurisdiction over wetlands. Let's take a look at what's impacting our markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Phone 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the Thursday session mixed. Bull spreads were back in vogue yesterday. Old crop corn and soybean futures were gaining on new crop amid strong U.S. export demand, tightening cash supplies, and the worry that the U.S. and China will not be able to reach a trade deal because of a wide geopolitical divide. China has demanded that President Trump remove all tariffs installed before even they think about new talks. Of course, Trump is offering to curtail but not unilaterally cut Chinese tariffs. That's producing an impasse, at least as of right now. That did pressure new crop corn and soybean futures, particularly soybeans, where China would pick up their U.S. demand amid the fall harvest. Speaking of those bull spreads, you got to be careful with new sales here. Board of Trade will not break down until the old crop gives up the rally. You have to keep in mind that July soy oil is testing its mid-November high, which was up at 49.72. A close above 50 would suggest a more dynamic bullish trend. Rising soy oil is underpinning the soybean trade amid the sharp U.S. fall in used cooking oil imports. May soybean futures trading above the 200-day moving average, which is seen as supportive. Brokers estimate that Managed Money sold 2,300 contracts of wheat and 1,900 contracts of soy meal yesterday, bought 3,200 contracts of corn and 2,100 contracts of soy oil, 2,600 contracts of soybeans. Weekly export sales for the week ending April 17th, ho-hum. Net cancellations of old crop corn, or wheat rather. New crop sales of 13.7 million bushels. Had new sales of 45.4 million bushels of corn, 10.2 million bushels of soybeans. China is down to shipping out the last of its known U.S. soybean purchases. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, let's take a look at how those markets closed yesterday, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, May corn closed up 5 1/4 cents, and December corn was up 2 cents. May soybeans closed up 12 3/4, while November soybeans were up 8 cents. And July Kansas City wheat closed up 1/2 penny, while July Chicago wheat was up 1 penny, and Minneapolis wheat was up 3/4 cents. Taking a look now at the overnight trade, May corn is trading up 3/4 penny at $4.78 48 cents. December 25 new crop corn is unchanged at $4.56.5. May soybeans are trading up 3 cents at $10.56, while the November new crop beans are up 3 3/4 at $10.39 1/4 cent. And wheat for July is trading up a penny and 3/4, $5.46 1/4 cent. In livestock, April live cattle closed the day up 80 cents at $213.15. May lean hogs were up 7.5 cents at $91.95. Thanks for joining us and have a great day. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet.